It's Friday. It's March 29th, 2024. Um, I'm inside United States of America with a Federal Reserve note, an ONE, and an In God We Trust. There's Jackson with the White House, and then there's Franklin with Independence Hall. For the In God We Trust, at some point, this purple line came. I was not made aware when it happened. I do not know what it represents. That's how, as being one of something, um, that's where the disconnect and part of the problem with FAA, FCC, and several lengths of communicative lines have been in determining severity of breakage at the whatever, being one of 48, one of 50, one of 7, in the whatever. So yesterday, there was, and now I have 2 blemishes on my record, having been forced down this path. One that's represented by, which I call toilet paper, by not, and that's not to damage those that believe in the institution of marriage, because I do believe in the institution of marriage. It's just my personal situation with the amount of breakage has suffered some unforeseeable circumstances, and I don't know how to carefully and delicately make mention, because it is astrologically important. By calcaneus calculus, it's important by several metrics and measures, scientifically and by mathematics, genealogy, heraldry. So there is this crash that now happened in Baltimore, between Virginia and Delaware. On a map, it seems very sensitive in area. So I was looking at that, just to weigh the depths of and the signals of what are they trying to say. Last night was something called Maudie Thursday. I allowed my son to enter the process for that moment. Um, the father, or the priest, at Zion, we went through the emotional and spiritual, like, connecting with those, that somewhere else in time and space. So it was in remembrance of those that walked before us, that may have lost their savior, one way or the other. And then again, I just feel like I've been chastised, and I don't know what I've done to deserve this, but the story is incredibly moving and important. because how the women and children and the garden, how the garden grows, is significant and important at one of. Um, Knowing there's a higher denomination, a higher powerful being, and knowing that that is the person or the apparatus that one looks to, spiritually and otherwise. So there is this collapse and cleanup of this Baltimore bridge. Army Corps of Engineers is there, according to CBS. Um, when I took my son to go, I took him to the Boy Scouts. I saw what was collecting in utility and tool and what is growing here, in alarming clusters, that does not look familial, and I do not have identity or label for at the moment. Um, I just know it's not us. It's children from elsewhere, but I do not know from what garden. And then there's this, I took him to the US Sea Cadets, for um, to see what they had available in something to grow into. And while I was there, I was surrounded by more non familial, more not us. And they looked like they might be relative to like a Gail King or possibly like this governor of Baltimore, like that, wherever the origin story began. Um, I'm not quite sure. But whatever, I don't have a label for it, but whatever that is, I knew a person, somebody sent and crossed paths with me at the level of Ellen. I know what she referred to herself as, whatever that is. Um, so there's that's what surrounded me, and the US naval equipment as I was trying to integrate my son into some US capacity, and which made me very uncomfortable. They were the same type of persons that were there when I went to St. John's Prep in Astoria in 1995, 96. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they hail from. I don't know why they're here. But the fact that they're crawling all over the US naval equipment is really concerning. These barriers to entry of my own kind and my children is problematic, or how I view it. And it seems very passive aggressive in signaling. And so, and they said that they were trying, I mean, it's naval blue. They said that they were trying to convert to naval green. I don't know what that means at one of, at ONE in a GODWEIN. So I am concerned. Um, but prominence is still this familial category, and this one's Independence Hall. Um, so there's that going on. They took out, it's called the Francis Key Scott Bridge, which is the Star Spangled Banner for the flag. Um, and last night, the governor was at an Orioles baseball game. They also alerted me that baseball has now, part of it's been moved to Korea. So it's not even one of 7 North America. It's our pastime. Baseball was our pastime, and it was the sport of allegiance, or there was a sport of something important Why it's been shipped overseas, I have no idea. I don't know whose decision that was. I wasn't asked. I wasn't brought into a vote. Um, I don't. But again, basketball seems to be entering into this treacherous territory as well. Don't know why that is. Don't know how that even happened. Um, so I'm watching this, and then they show there's four presidents that came to New York, being that we are one of something greater, one of 48, one of 50, one of seven, as North Americans. And there is this, four of the past presidents leading up until wherever we are now came to New York yesterday while I was at Maudie Thursday, going through the symbolic loss of the Savior, of Jesus, and then knowing that tonight will be the next set of circumstances of sitting in the dark and just sitting in the dark and waiting. And then Saturday will be another. I mean, again, this is Holy Week. And then Sunday, Jesus resurrects. Um, and moves forward. So we are going as a family symbolically through this journey with our whatever, um, in this area. Um, but what I noticed while, there were three: Clinton, who has New York whatever, and who, when I was in Lloyd Harbor, was somehow democratically in some machine, and then to wind up with a president who was not Protestant and not a WASP. That signals to me, as a family, as a flower, as a part of the garden, like gigantic signals that something is wrong. Having him sit in the White House at a national security level with access to all sorts of things, planning, technology, information. Why was there for that long a non familial member? And who was guiding and steering us into? I mean, these are questions that I don't have answers for at the moment, um, in where I am, which is even more frightening. Um, but as a larger collective, it seems like critical infrastructure of important remembrance, that entire 8-year period, while the media and bread and circus was making it like it was normal and like it was okay. It certainly was not. I mean, in this area of one of seven, it is never, ever. That is a sign of something unhealthy going on, to have a non familial presidential person. So, but my father and mother speak of it like he's one of the best presidents that ever happened. I'm sitting here knowing what I was taught while Clinton was headed to the White House, that it is white Anglo Saxon Protestants that are to remain in the White House. Those were the instructions I was given. So, how it ever changed, I don't know. Why it ever changed, I do not know. But it is a frightening realization. Um, we, as a school, in the Lloyd Harbor were allowed to go to the Mint. We were nationally secured and cleared to go to the Mint and actually meet with Mint representatives to see the process. And again, this was at a time where I believe it was the Reagan administration where we got the presidential fitness tests and certificates for White House. So, not knowing what the future held, I don't know the prophets, I don't know the prophecy, I don't know what's involved in that. Um, in fact, in the rooms that I've been allowed in, it they don't even speak of prophets or prophecy. That seems more like a TV theoretical. Um, so you have Joe Biden, Obama, and Clinton from the Democratic Party meeting in New York for some fundraiser, millions of dollars they have access to. Been, I've never even accumulated 1 million. I mean, it's been really difficult. Um, Again, feeling like I was chastised. That is probably the best word because this marriage, like to someone that they cross sectioned me with a meeting at Crazy Donkey and then later Blacksmith, which I just use the dates and the meeting spots of knowing something's not right and it's getting worse. Um, and knowing that one of is out there somewhere. The ONE, the GOD, the WE, the IN, these important, I mean, critical, one of 7 importance. So I'm watching this, and then the other president from the Republican, whatever that means, came to um, New York to be with the NYPD. They lost one of their service members. Um, Again, I broke my ankle on Black and Blue Friday. My mother, she drove a Saab. When I went to St. John's in Astoria, Queens, I had a Saab. I was driving a Saab. CSH, it was a Jaguar, and it was a BMW. It eventually was a Saab. And then when I entered Astoria, Queens, from Bayside, Queens, it was also a Saab. There was not many that were able to drive to school. They mostly took public transportation, but I had a Saab. Just so one of is aware of the whatever. But this concerning, I don't know what trying to convert from naval blue to naval green means. I don't know what level of awareness that at one of. So this is what the television part is. That's personal story. Here's the televised portion.
Were back on the cargo ship Dolly Thursday, interviewing crew members, gathering evidence, and inspecting containers on board. According to the Coast Guard, 14 with hazardous materials were damaged, but the contents, including soap and perfume, are said not to pose a threat to the public.
We need to open vessel traffic to the port because the health.
Now, when I took my son, one of my sons, to the USC cadets, I was surrounded by individuals that have some similarity in whatever. And the persons, the children that were in the adults looked that were leading the program, telling me they were changing it to navel green, looked like similar. But the children wearing the yellow and black Sea Cadet shirts were of other origin completely. They were not similar to this. They were children from elsewhere, something different. And they did not look like the one of that that my son comes from.
Health of the Maryland economy and the national economy depends on.
Last night, Maryland Governor Wes Moore warned the timeline for recovery would be long. Earlier, he appeared at the Baltimore Orioles opening day game, where fans unfurled a replica of the flag that inspired Francis Scott Key to write the Star-Spangled Banner. The Orioles also honored the construction workers who died in the bridge collapse. And for the first time, we are seeing the hero police officers who stopped traffic before it fell. CBS News spoke with the brother of Mayor Yasser Suazo Sandoval, one of the victims. He says he wished.
So they met last night, these three presidents, Clinton, Obama, and Biden, in Radio City. Radio being spelled R-A and then D-I-O. I'm in a GOD system in North America as one of 7, one of 48, one of 50. In an ONEINWE GOD.
Which was the epicenter of presidential politics and some star power yesterday as President Biden came to New York last night for a splashy campaign fundraiser at Radio City Music Hall, including a talk with former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, moderated by The Late Show's Stephen Colbert. Former President Donald Trump, meanwhile, not far away, visiting with the family of an NYPD officer killed in the line of duty on Monday. Caitlin Huey-Burns is covering this big day in presidential politics. Caitlin, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. The presidential campaign trail winding through New York. Biden is lagging Trump in the polls, but he does have one advantage over his rival, and that is cash. Last night, he raised a record sum. But some protesters over the war in Gaza also made their voices heard as the president joins some old friends.
We got 3 presidents in the building tonight.
Inside Radio City Music Hall, a star-studded fundraiser for President Biden's re-election campaign.
My question to you, sir, can voters trust a presidential candidate who has not won a single Trump International Golf Club trophy?
I told him this before when he came into the Oval, before he got sworn in. I said, I'll give you 3 strokes if you carry your own bag.
The event, headlined by former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, brought in, according to the campaign, a record $26 million. Cash Biden will need as he trails former President Donald Trump in many general election polls. But as the presidents arrived, so too did protesters in opposition to the administration's handling of the war in Gaza, a major issue with a key voting bloc. And inside, there were several disruptions as protesters were escorted out. Despite President Biden's low approval rating, his campaign has $71 million in the bank, compared to the Trump campaign's nearly $34 million. Trump's legal troubles have been draining resources. A super PAC supporting him has spent
I'm not going through numbers. So now this is the local Long Island section that President Trump came to visit last night while we were in church during this Holy Week, for remembrance of not just our own, but of the totality.
Meanwhile, Trump was also in New York to attend the wake of fallen NYPD officer Jonathan Diller, who was fatally shot Monday during a traffic stop, a visit made to send a campaign message.
We have to stop it. We have to get back to law and order. We have to do a lot of things differently because this is not working. This is happening too often.
And Trump plans a fundraiser of his own in Palm Beach next week, and that's just a couple of days after he's due to post that $175 million bond in a civil fraud case. And he'll be back here in New York again.
Now, there's Holly Williams. She's going through walking the route in the faraway place where Jesus and the Holy Book says that he is from, which is not part of, there's the whatever and the whatever, but it's different land. And she's walking through with Christians during the same Holy Week.
Believe that around 2,000 years ago, Jesus walked this route through Jerusalem, carrying the cross to the hill where he was crucified. On Good Friday, Christians reenact that procession, but their community here is coming under attack. Jerusalem is a contested city, claimed as a capital by both Israelis and Palestinians. The tiny Christian minority in Jerusalem now only numbers around 15,000 believers. But it's a target for ultra-Orthodox Jews. Christians say they've been spat at and assaulted, while this Christian cemetery was desecrated.
It's very, very difficult to get justice.
Father Bernard Poggi is an American priest from California who lives in Jerusalem.
There are a lot of people who have an animosity with Christians because they don't understand the message of Christ. But we have to keep focused that we're coming to pray, we're not coming to fight.
Things are even worse for Palestinian Christians living in Gaza. Hundreds have taken shelter inside churches in the Gaza Strip, but religious officials say one church compound was
and then I'm going to pause this because yesterday on the Catholic side of things, Cardinal Dolan was doing charity work, responsible charity work in New York City as well. So we had the 4 former presidents of the United States of America visit us and grace us with their presence as one of the 48 states on the continental map. And then there was Cardinal Dolan doing, religious work of some sort. I don't have the correct words. Again, I'm not swathed in that level of it's not pageantry when it's sacramental. They have another word for it. But again, I'm not theologized like at that. Right now I'm concerned with scientific radio hazards. This is like radiological, or this is, so I'm trying to find words to accurately portray the level of sunlight other than it's strong. Because that's what the level of rooms and education I've been in, what they've allowed me to know. I have not been able to get to like a Lex Friedman but again, I know in and I don't know who chastised me as a woman of one of, but at some level, they have scientific discussions and your family has to be known. You have to be brought into that circle. But again, when I'm looking at pyramids and diaspora, like of triangles with displacement over time, and replacement theory, and larger national concerns, some of what used to seem important to others, when it's up to this level and icebergs are melting and things, there are some things that take higher precedent than others, contextually. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to move over to the generous charity work that the Catholic Church still does, and his his pulpit is in St. Patrick's Cathedral, one of the most beloved landmarks in our one of 48. So I'm going to pause this for a second and just memorialize him, that he was actively out there showing us how to be good Christians. Okay, so here they call it Holy Thursday on the Channel 7 news.
Before Easter, on this Holy Thursday, Cardinal Dolan and Catholic Charities of New York spent the morning helping those in need. They distributed food to more than 400 families at the Washington Heights Food Pantry in Manhattan. For Christians, Holy Thursday commemorates what was the Last Supper with Jesus and the apostles, and today's food was handed out to anyone in need, regardless of religious affiliation.
And still to come on Eyewitness News First to 4 after months of seeking.
So that is as in-depth coverage as the news station went. Somewhere I heard him speak yesterday, but I'm not like right at a on-demand feature. I'm not sure. I'm still in this flag. Our space agency is NASA, NASA. We rely on the FCC and the FAA for communications and for aviation. And Bill Nelson is our NASA administrator. That is what the televised media is reporting still on this day. And so it is a somber few days. Just my father who is an atheist, which spells at heist, whatever that might mean. But put me, and I asked him this morning, I said, why did you choose? Like, did you have a spiritual advisor for me? No spiritual advisor, no genealogy, no heraldry specialist. Don't know why. Don't know where that break in one of was, but I know for the Department of one of, or the ONE, the IN, the WE, these are critical pieces of how are the women who are going to be future mothers, how are they being handled symbolically, significantly, and in actuality. And there was some ongoings in New York that came along with the astrological cancer across the street and the trip to Maine without my parents. And there was a car stop as they were traveling with me. Just notations and records being made for the whatever and the whatever. And on my behalf. So that's where 2024 is, with having been here in whatever capacity, but leading me into this moment of not even really like respecting family, respecting the institution of marriage. Like, would have made a really amazing wife for a really amazing one of, within the In God We Trust, within the IN, within the WE, within the GOD, within the ONE, and where I thought that that's who was catching me when I was falling asleep at night, why it did not get to that level during the day, and come to fruition is still unbeknownst to me, while this level of radiological something is going on. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way universe, galaxies broken. I was looking at some of my medical records as I was cleaning out one of the closets yesterday, and at some point my neutrophil level was up to 66% in the hematocrit. I don't know what that means. I do on one level, but I'm not a hematologist. I'm not a cancer specialist, and in the medical system, the way that it's devised right now, I go to see a person, but they have not informed me of anything different. I needed some kind of hydration. That was all that they had mentioned. So I'm grateful for that. But it really is very symbolic with just tonight when we go, sitting in the dark is what it feels like.